Talofa lava, welcome to PEP Talk. I'm Suitauloa, Salā Marie Young.
I'm Salā Marie Young.
And we're so glad to have you here with us today. So PEP Talk is from us. We are Pacific Enterprise people, and we use this time to talk about our work and also highlight some amazing people. Well, at first we start with each other. Not saying that we're amazing, but we're just, in case you don't know who we are, this is the one for you to watch. So yeah, maybe I'll start with our Managing Director and Founder, Salā Marie Young, soon to be Dr. Salā Marie Young. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, Talofa lava ma losui fuamalangi ma kia ora. My name is Salā Marie Young, as Sui has mentioned. I'm Samoan, born in Christchurch, and spent some time growing up in Samoa, Australia, as well as then coming back here with our family in the late 80s.
So you've been around. You've been around to many different places and cultures and experiences.
Yes, that's right. And it was really, really good to grow up in Samoa just for a couple of years anyway when we were young. And basically, we ended up going to school there, which was really the cemented being able to actually speak the language, because we had no choice but to speak Samoan if we would get a hiding from the nuns there in Vaiusu. It was a Catholic school there, and so that's basically where and to this day we're really grateful that I'm still able to speak the language, which is really important.
Because even though it's the third most spoken language in Aotearoa, it's still at risk, right? It's not
yes,
it's not a super strong in terms of many people speaking it in the whole world.
Yeah, that's right. So that experience was quite a unique one. It was hard at the time because I mean, no one wants to get a hiding when you don't even know how to speak a language, but it worked obviously, because I was still able to speak and also write in Samoan. So, but yeah, you are right. I'm not sure what the stats are at the moment, but cultural preservation, preserving our languages, obviously the culture in our early childhood centres all around the country is one of the ways that our young ones can pick up the language and strengthen their identity and know who they are. So but that's a little bit about where I've sort of grew up.
Awesome. And so fast forward to now, to PEP. Basically, if somebody's never heard of PEP, what is PEP? Well,
PEP is basically there to serve our Pacific community, especially whether it's governance. And when we say governance, that's a big word, right? So, but really governance in the sense of community schools or early learning centres. They call it early learning services now, but it's really coming alongside and strengthening governance practices and best practices, and really bringing what governance perhaps is and what is expected and also in a legal sense. Often a lot of our Pacific people volunteer. We've got such a great serving hearts that we would jump to serve in any capacity. It's also one of our values. Our key values is love and respect, but also service, which is tautua. And so we have that in buckets and loads of we don't have a lack of people, but that's one of the things that we do, and we're really passionate about that because as we know, through members, we're also members, both of us, through the Institute of Directors. It is a legal it's a legal requirement. It's not just a thing that we just want to volunteer for. So and so that's and what is the knock-on effect of that? That's basically really to help cultivate and preserve our cultures. We have more of our early learning services or schools that our doors continue to stay open. We're able to really reach and cultivate the next generation of young ones coming through, like myself 30 years ago. That's a long time ago, and some of these services weren't around.
True.
So so there's a whole lot of impact that we like PEP to to some of our values and vision of why we exist, and then the next tier is looking at how to bring technology, how to bring some of our Pacific businesses into the 21st century. Now I say that with respectfully, because often our Pacific businesses they're doing what they've known what to do for a very long time, and there's nothing wrong with that, but we also have to actually move with the times, right? Especially with the rampant speed of technology at the moment. So that's another thing that we introduce, is not only governance, but just the tech side or the e-commerce side or the website sites, that we are able to bring branding to what they are already currently doing. We just come alongside and strengthen and make it even better, or improve, the outcome of their business goals that we're looking for.
That's right.
Just a little bit about that.
Thank you. That's really awesome. And just a note to the technology thing is that there's so much technology available, and it's kind of overwhelming. And so sometimes what we do with our clients is we come alongside them, help them to choose what to do next.
Right.
Simply what to do next, and take away a little bit of the overwhelm. Sometimes we do that in a bit of a structured thing. So we had a cohort of 6 different early childhood centres that we gave them 12 weeks. We worked with each of them to build their website, and then present it to each other and also to our client that was footing the bill for all this. And it was such a powerful experience because often we don't get these opportunities as small business operators ourselves to take that time to focus, and just have somebody else come alongside you can really be helpful, eh?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Try to do.
Yeah, and just on the back of what you're saying is that, and to overarch that, to really underpin all of that, what you're saying is a strategy. Sometimes we help with strategies, so that there's a roadmap. There's often we tend to just get in and just do the day-to-day, but having a strategic view, having goals and business goals as well is really important, and being able to actually see them, the aha moments, when we're actually going through these courses and workshops that we've been doing with our Pacific businesses in the community.
100%. Speaking of courses and workshops, can we talk a little bit about our qualifications? I just want to say we're people of faith, and we used to have the attitude that was like, we don't need education, we just got our faith and we can go for it. Attitude's a little bit different to that now, since we got some qualifications and some experience. We don't judge anybody who was in that sort of camp of like, just get the experience, because that is pretty cool. But we've learned so much from the things that we have been learning. So maybe start with your MTF.
Oh yes, so MTF, what's that? Masters of Technological Futures. So I was really blessed and privileged to be able to actually do this with my sister. So we both graduated with our masters in, is it 2022 or 2023? Yeah, time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah.
So we were really fortunate to complete that, and then in 2006 I actually wrote on a piece of paper that I've always wanted to actually further my education and get a PhD or something along those lines. I didn't even know what. And at the time I'm thinking, how on earth am I going to actually even achieve that? And that was just something personal. And academia and that pathway is a personal choice, isn't it? It's something that is a driver for. For me personally, it stems back when I was picked on at school just for being the wrong colour, and I remember really years later really appreciating that gift, because I thought, oh, these kids may be thinking that what they're doing or because sometimes kids are kids, they don't really know what they're doing, but it really stuck with me, and I felt like, okay, if this is what's happening to me in the classroom, being picked on because I was the wrong colour at school, and it happened all the time, I thought, I'm going to actually go as high as I can in education. And so in 2006 I wrote on a piece of paper on my wall, do you remember? Yeah, and I remember thinking, I don't know how I'm going to ever achieve that. One of the things when you're picked on is that there's a lot of things that can happen to a child or to a kid or a teenager or anybody. No, but it's very unpleasant. One of the things is that happened to me was that I thought, well, I must be really dumb because this is happening to me. It's not happening to any other kid in the classroom. And so being able to overcome that, right? So it's being able to really, and that's where our faith comes in. It's really believing in that God actually created all of our brains to be like God's, right? It's like creative and smart and all that type of stuff. So it's been a personal growth journey for me, more than just a certificate and qualification. So long story short, after the Masters, I was really fortunate and blessed to be accepted into the Otago University for their doctorate of business administration. And so now I'm actually looking into Samoan governance, or from a Samoan Indigenous lens of how to perhaps bring more of our values and culture into the governance space when we're actually working with communities.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the topic of your doctorate because it's amazing. Another thing about us is that we have matai titles. So we were just what do you call it? Inaugurated, or
I think Salā.
We had the Salā last year. So we've seen a tiny little glimpse of the governance that takes place in Samoan villages. Yeah. And so it's like when we deal with organisations, not-for-profits, etc., that start up in Aotearoa, they're obviously under New Zealand law, which is based on British common law, which comes from very far away, and yet they have their own Indigenous way of governing, which is not really recognised in those New Zealand laws. And so, especially with the organisations we work with, we see that the expertise in the organisation is there, but it's not translated. It's
lost in translation. So I guess that's another reason why I wanted to explore the topic a little bit more. So I'm not there yet. It's probably a year or two out, God willing, but it's been and as I mentioned before, academia, and doesn't mean that everybody has their own strengths and superpowers and different abilities and gifting. This is just what we've been quite passionate about in the last couple of years, haven't we?
That's right. Yeah. Well, if I can jump in, I'll just talk about my qualifications.
What's your
my
journey so far?
The
education.
Well, I went back to university. I never went to university the first time round. So I went to university the first time in 2023 at the age of 47 with seeking to do 1 year of law. More than 1 year is not my style because I am a big picture thinker. Law is an extremely detail oriented subject, but the certificate of legal studies, that's what they call it when you do just the first year, that was really amazing to understand how our country works. And then every time I watched the news, it was like, oh my gosh, this is either about laws being made or being broken or being prosecuted. Almost everything on the news was about the law, and so it was just really eye-opening, and thankfully we've been able to put that experience or that learning into practice with our work, sometimes with clients, helping them with putting together documents and policies and strategies, that sort of thing. Hastily disclaimer, I'm not a lawyer, and we always recommend you get proper legal counsel, but in terms of some of that legal exec work, that's something that we're also able to offer. So that was kind of my baptism back into the
studies.
Tertiary education, and now I've followed up with a Master of Technological Futures, same as what you finished, what you completed. So at this time of recording, I'm still in the midst of that, which is so we're recording this in November 2024. So I'm working on a project called One Ancestor. You can visit the website that it's all about, oneancestor.co. And that is all about how we tell our family stories. Now, because we're a cross-cultural couple, I couldn't just go down the route of how do people like me tell our family stories, but also we have some exposure to understanding how do Samoans tell their family stories. And then because we're in Aotearoa, it's like, how do Māori tell their family stories? Whakapapa is so very, very important in somebody's identity and somebody's story. And so also because we're blessed to live in a multicultural society, I've spoken with people from the Chinese community, from the Indian community, reached out across the ditch to Australia, Torres Strait and Aboriginal community, and yeah, it's just amazing. So anyway, enough about one ancestor.
Good. So just confirming. So you one ancestor at a time is a project that is part of your Master's Tech Futures degree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And it's a public project as well. Like if you want to subscribe and get updates on it, then go to that website, oneancestor.co. It's not going to just finish after the Masters, God willing.
Yeah, awesome. And so when are you finished? When do you complete your degree?
So I complete that in March 2025.
Right, so not far away.
Not far away at all. Far away at all, yeah.
Yeah, and what are some of the things that you've actually learned, like just personally? Because you know how I was saying that, yes, it's a piece of paper, it's a degree, but there's a lot that you actually learn on a personal level too,
yes.
don't you?
Oh, definitely. So both the law and the MTF have taught me about the value of working in cohorts. That's something that we've put into our work in PEP as well.
Yeah.
Like when we get an opportunity to have a group of people working together with a common goal, even though there's a friendly competition going on, that's really powerful, because we can use the power of positive peer pressure, just as it helped us as students to know, okay, I'm not the only one doing this learning. Sometimes if you are self-taught, that can actually be a really lonely journey.
Right.
So that's one big learning. Another thing that's sort of come from this study, but also from our lives before that, for both of us, I think, is our journey into decolonization and re-indigenization. Some big words there.
Big words, yeah. Big words, and it does take time too, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And for me as a Pālangi or Pākehā, I feel incredibly lucky to work in the field that we work in, which is with all these beautiful indigenous cultures, and to reflect and learn on how much of an impact colonization has had. People who don't know about it think of it as something that happened in the past, because we're not a colony now, we've got the Commonwealth, not the Empire, all this kind of stuff. And yet, it's really about the ways of thinking, eh?
Yeah, absolutely. And that can take decades to relearn and to normalize what should be normalized,
Totally.
Culturally, and it's a huge topic, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I reckon, I believe that we will probably touch on it at some stage in PEP Talk as well.
Again and again, yeah.
Yeah, but today was really about you getting to know us a little bit. In case you also don't know, we're a husband and wife team, and we've been married. We've known each other for 30 years, and married for 26 years. So, and for people out there who are running their own businesses, and being a married couple, that's we've come across quite a lot of couples too, haven't we?
Absolutely.
In business, that say that some couples are able to actually work together, and
some just can't.
and that's fine. It really depends. And then you got marriage on top of that, which is another work in progress. To be able to work and appreciate each other's gifting and strengths and gaps in our personalities, and also our strengths,
especially our differences,
rather than, so we tend to focus on what we can focus on, which is not only to compromise at times, but also work with the similarities of what we are able to do.
100%. Yeah.
So in case sometimes you get asked by our clients, so are you Samoan, are you?
Yeah, no, I'm not. So my DNA is pretty much 100% vanilla. Pretty much all from UK and a little bit from Europe. But I feel As a Pākehā tangata tiriti, I feel like I've been whāngai, adopted by the land, by the whenua, and feel a connection. And also in terms of Samoan culture for the last 30 years, that's been a part of my life. And I think we see it in a lot of a different way now than what we used to.
Yeah, that's right. And for those who don't know, mostly Sui has been coming to attending a lot of Samoan churches, mostly than I've been attending, Bālangi or Pākehā churches, eh? So it's sometimes we take turns to be that minority in those spaces.
Yes. Yeah. And we also had a chapter in our lives where we were heavily involved with China, whether it was visiting there or whether it was actually having a mostly Chinese team based here in New Zealand. That was, especially visiting China, was a really good and significant part of decolonization.
Yeah.
Because the thing with colonization is it makes you feel like the colonized culture is normal. And so for me, coming natively from that culture, it's just like, oh, this is just reality.
Yeah.
And then you go to Beijing and all your cultural norms are thrown out the window. Obviously, language is different, but even little things like queuing. In Beijing, like in Hong Kong, they queue because of the British influence, but in other parts of China, not really.
Right.
It is, you get in, you do what you need to do, you
get out.
Elbow in because there's a billion people. So stuff like that really challenged my norms, because the things that I would find offensive would not be offensive to Chinese people, and the things they would find offensive would not be offensive to me, and so it was really deeply challenging. And the same with the Samoan culture, the same thing about things that I would be offended by or not offended by would be all, I realized that it's actually a cultural thing, and it's my choice to be offended or not offended.
Yeah, and it's also being interested and curious about other cultures, whether it's Samoan, Bālangi, or any other culture. So you mentioned China. So why did we go to China?
So we went to China because we used to do marketing. Digital marketing was our thing. We were doing conferences and workshops all around New Zealand, some in Australia, and then we got an email from a company in China in 2010, and they said, we would like you to teach the same kind of thing in China. Now, I don't know if you know this, but all of our digital things like Facebook and stuff are not available in China. So we had to start learning a whole new world of China digital, and so for about a decade that was our focus, was helping New Zealand businesses do their marketing into China or to Chinese communities in New Zealand. So it was real interesting, really stretched us. It was really hard work, because we were cross-cultural all the time. But
we also learnt so much, a lot of cultural nuances, a lot of respect for the Guanxi relationship. It's very similar to some of the Samoan or Pacific values and way of life and worldview. But so it's been quite a journey, hasn't it? So we're so excited to be to actually restart PEP Talk. But we thought we spend a little bit more time to slow down, breathe, and just for us to give you a chance just to get to know us a little bit. And obviously we're really excited to get to know you too.
That's right.
And your stories. And we've definitely got quite a few clients that we want to feature some of their heart and their vision and their purpose and just what they're doing in the community and their families and their organizations, but also in their church communities as well, their faith communities. So it's a very enriching time. Yes, it can be doom and gloom if we look at the news every day, but there's some really amazing people that we're working with all the time.
Oh, totally.
So basically, you mentioned that we were invited. We thought it was spam, didn't we?
We did. We thought it was a scam.
That the letter, the invitation to Shanghai was spam.
But then they're giving us money. We're not giving them money.
And I remember stepping out for the first time in Shanghai, and I seriously thought it was it's that movie. Is it not Back to the Future, was
Blade Runner.
Blade Runner. If you haven't, for those
That's
who
an
are
amazing
aware
place.
of Blade Runner, I really thought that we were actually experiencing Blade Runner.
Yeah.
It's such a futuristic, alive, it's a very, multicultural, but wow, the energy. I mean, some say it's the New York of Asia,
yeah,
of China.
absolutely, yeah.
Not sure if they'll still say that yet, but I think so.
Oh, soon they'll be
Yeah.
saying New York is the Shanghai of America.
Yes, yeah, and they've got their elections on today and tomorrow, haven't they, in America?
yeah.
Which we won't delve into, but but yeah. So, and then I remember when we actually got to Shanghai, they hosted us, and we had a lot of multinational companies
Yes, that's right.
as our attendees.
We were talking with some household names: Johnson and Johnson, McDonald's. There were also a couple of Kiwis, sort of Kiwi Chinese, who had they had heard that we're from New Zealand, and so they wanted to come to our session just because of that. And so it just, it's a bit of a side note, but it just goes to show we think of New Zealand Inc. thinks of a Chinese student coming as one person, individualistic because of the Western mindset, but actually that person brings a family.
Yeah.
Often literally, especially when the immigration laws were easier. Not only that, they build a life, they build a career, and they build this lifelong advocacy of New Zealand as a country. Anyway, so that's a bit too much detail, but it just goes to show there's a bigger world out there than what we know, and it's what we love doing is crossing cultures so that we learn more.
Yeah, and especially because we're obviously a mixed couple ourselves.
Yeah.
So we're really blessed to dip in and dip out and experience and go deep as well and go wide into all sorts of cultures,
Yes.
not just Palangi and Samoan.
Yeah.
And so, what else?
What else? Well, I think one thing that China plus the Pacific, and plus now through PEP we've worked with people from Tongan, Cook Island, all the kind of very small Cook Islands that sometimes some of them they only have a few thousand speakers of their language in the whole world. That's really amazing to work with.
Puka puka.
Puka puka and a kaiti mahangarangaru. We've also worked with what other cultures? Tokelau, Tuvalu, Fijian. And so there's this beautiful underlying thread in Te Moana Nui a Kiwa, the whole family of the Pacific that is expressed in the Polynesian, Melanesian peoples. The values there are really similar to the values that we found in Chinese and Asian cultures, which is really similar to Middle Eastern cultures, which is really similar to African cultures. And then it started to occur to me, as the one descended from England, maybe my culture is actually the minority in a global sense and in a historical sense. And maybe this whole ideas that dominate our society now, like individualism, personal rights, personal ambition, all this kind of stuff, is actually a really recent invention. And maybe it is challenging, because the beautiful thing about all of our clients that we're looking forward to sharing their story with you is that not only are they doing business for themselves, often for their family as well, but there is an underlying sense of tautua, of service,
Yes.
that is so inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing that we love about our clients as well is that they are their Pacific values and their personal values is centric. It is the center. It's actually smack right in the center of all that they do.
Yeah.
It's the ethos in which they do their business. Christian values, their Pacific values, it's a beautiful fusion, isn't it, of the way that they have decided to actually do business, which is what we also champion, which is what we love to also aim to do in what we do. It's not just it's not just a job for us. It's more. It's like a calling.
It's like a calling.
It's something that we're called to do.
That's right.
To care for our clients. To care for when we get a brief, when we actually get this is what they like to achieve, and often we will spend time to have those conversations, and sometimes even to challenge to expand.
Yes.
the brief.
That's right.
And often it's, yes, we're in business to get money, but we actually really want to do it properly.
Yeah.
And so sometimes there's that those types of conversations and compromises too, to trust not only us as PEP, but also our clients to achieve what it is that they want through the brief more than what's just on paper.
Definitely. Yeah.
Which is what you've been encountering lately.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, that's right. We really want to understand what's the most important thing that needs doing. Sometimes it's what you think it is, and sometimes it's not. Yeah. So, and sometimes it's quite hard for us to explain what we do, because we do a lot of different things based on what you need as a client. Sometimes that's in the governance area, which is Salā's real specialty. And sometimes it's more in the technology area, which is your
specialty.
Area. Yeah. And sometimes it comes into strategy, which is kind of both of us are really good at.
So it sort of falls in the middle, and that's okay too. So sometimes we'll get a brief from a client, and we will look at it, and then have a conversation with the client to say, have you thought of actually taking point 3 to prioritize that, and perhaps move, what's priority number 1 to further down and this is why, and this is, so sometimes we're doing strategic and where they're at the moment.
Yes.
With the aim to, when they leave PEP, they're actually better off than when they came, which is something that we love to do in the way that we serve and the way that we craft the solutions for our clients.
100%. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, we could go on seriously, but thank you so much for watching this episode of PEP Talk. We're gonna keep on adding them and keep on sharing things that we think will be helpful to you. Most of all, we would love your feedback and your ideas, what you want to hear from us.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is probably not the norm for every PEP Talk, but this is just a little bit about who we are and, as a couple, but also our hearts to serve, but really looking forward to amplifying others, really shining the spotlight to what our clients and what other Pacific businesses are doing in the region, but also here in Aotearoa and abroad, but mostly here in Aotearoa, Tamaki Makaurau, which is where we are based. And we're really looking forward to celebrating your hard work. Keep up the awesome work wherever you are, wherever you're tuning in, and thank you for allowing us to just introduce ourselves this way, and we hope that you'll join the journey. And we wish you all the very best for today and for the rest of the week. We're in November now, so Christmas is not far away. Take care and God bless.
God bless.
Pasui fua.